All right, now we're going to continue our tour. So we left Mount Nebo, which was at 12,000 foot elevation, and we went down quite a steep drop because we went down straight from there, down this mountain, and we came to this place called Bethabara. Now, this whole Dead Sea, this is the Valley of Siddim, okay? These are the 5 cities that were destroyed on the plain: Sodom, Gomorrah, Gomorrah, Admah, Zoar, and Zeboim, okay? And this is Lot's cave where he hid. But this is at 1,300 feet below sea level, and this is 12,000 feet above sea level. So this is quite a drop. But we end up in Bethabara, and I want to make a note that when you see Bethabara in your Bible, Bethabara is also known as the house of passage, because many times they pass through this exact place. I'm going to go over those when we're all done. But whenever you see Bethabara or Bethany, there's 2 Bethanies. Okay, one Bethany is here by Jerusalem. Here's Bethany. And then the other Bethany is here. They're both on this east-west line right here. But this is the Bethany beyond the Jordan. This is Bethabara, the house of passage. Anytime you see beyond the Jordan or Bethany beyond the Jordan in your Bible, this is where it's talking about, this exact place. And it's also known as the house of believer, which we found out on our tour. Okay, we're going to continue on. I'm going to talk all about Bethabara and the amazing things that happen there. And also, look here, Elijah's Hill is right here. So those 2 things are right next to each other. Okay, so we went to Bethabara. And if you want to know more about this site, go to baptismsite.com. And on it, there's a scholarly white paper. And they go through all the different methods that they've used to determine that this, by the scholars, and to determine this is the actual site where Jesus was baptized. And it was in this bottom corner right down here, right between these 4 pillars of rocks with this arch that was built over top of it. This exact spot's in the shape of a cross. So this exact spot down here, right in the middle, this is where he was baptized. And then you have remains of an ancient church here that's got the roof on it. There's actually 2 churches that were built there. And they built this stone walkway down to the baptism site where they did baptisms. And you have the stone remains of this other site over here next to it. It was called the Church of St. John the Baptist, and its pillars there. And I'm going to talk about those stones here in just a moment. But the Jordan River no longer flows just like this. It has meandered a few hundred yards away, and I'll show you what the Jordan looks like today. It's very close by. And as we're walking out there, you can see the foliage, like what it looks like down there. And I'm going to tell you, it was 105 in Amman when we left, okay? 105 at 3,000 feet elevation. Now we're at 1,300 feet below sea level. And you can't just say it's the dry heat, because it's not. It's super humid because the Dead Sea is like a quarter mile away. So, or it might be a little further than that. It's probably a half mile, but it's close by. And it's it's disgustingly humid, okay? So I have a great appreciation for John when he was living out here in the wilderness, and he had a ministry, and he was baptizing people, and he was living off the land, and he wore camel's hair and ate locusts and honey, and he lived there was nothing here. There's like jackals and snakes, and that's about it. I mean, there's really nothing here. It's just super hot and humid, but this is where it all happened. You see the dove coming down to rest on Jesus as he was baptized. All right, let's go on. This is the Jordan as it is today. It's very small. It overflows its banks in the springtime. And looking across, this is as close to Israel as we got. Israel and Jordan are in a state of peace right now. They had a declared war that was canceled. So now, but they still have soldiers manning both sides, and they have cameras all over the place. So they're nervously watching each other, but not really. That's as close to Israel as I could get. There were people being baptized in the river. It was very cool to watch. We did stick our hand down in there. There's a beaver. You can see the beaver going by. Pictures of the Jordan. And my son was just baptized in our church, And I told him, I'm like, we should have brought you along and baptized you in the Jordan. That would have been neat. And this, my friends, is the exact place. This is the actual spot where Jesus was baptized, right there. So the river used to run behind this building and along this low spot here on the left, and then off to the left. And then water would flow into where this cross shape area was. And you can see there's still water in here because there is a natural spring right under that spot. So God marked the spot as well as the early believers when they built these structures all around it. So there's a natural spring right where Jesus was baptized. Amazing. Here's another picture of it. And this is underneath the church structure with the roof on it. They had a mosaic tile on the floor, but there was very little that was surviving. I imagine probably because it floods so much there. But this is what's left of it. Very, very little. Okay, these stones. Very cool. These stones. So our guide was there, and he was telling us all about the site and the different things. And, somebody asked about the stones. Where are the stones that the tribes of Israel left as a memorial to the crossing site? And our guide gave us the standard answer of, no man knoweth the day or the hour. Like, things in the Bible cannot be known by mere man. Well, as he was saying this, the Holy Spirit was nudging me, and he was saying, you're looking at them. So I was very excited. I was counting them up. I was like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There was actually 14 of them. But so somewhere in these stones, I don't know whether it's the pillars of this, because this is these pillars of a structure of a church that was built on top of these stones. I don't know where they are, but I believe wholeheartedly that the stones that Israel dropped that they recovered from the middle of the river as they crossed with the Ark of the Covenant, where the waters piled up and they split, just like crossing the Red Sea, the same thing. The stones were brought back and dropped in this spot. There's 2 piles of stones, and I'll talk about that when I go through the scriptures. But the original ones are somewhere in this pile. Again, my heart sang when I was at this place, because I know what happened here. It wasn't just Jesus being baptized. It was over and over and over, people crossing this exact spot. That's why it's called the house of passage. Over and over and over. Same spot, same place, same day on the Hebrew calendar. I'll talk about that. Okay, as we walk, this is a modern church that was constructed here, and very neat artwork inside. This is more Tree of Life stuff here. Again, one of the angels. You notice there's no female angels anywhere. They're all males. The chariot of fire, Elijah going up. I'll talk about that here in just a moment. I had no idea this was the spot where that happened. And the mantle that Elijah is wearing, this animal skins, this is a study on itself. Very neat. Okay, so here is the baptism. I'm sorry, this is called Elijah's Hill. And I have more pictures of it. They wouldn't let us actually go there, so I had to borrow some picture from the internet. But this is from the bus as you go by. This is what you see. It's not safe to be there now. Actually, the whole area around it is a minefield, so you can't walk up to it anymore. They closed it because it's right on the border between Jordan and Israel. So I'm very unfortunate. But I told you that Christians would erect monuments or churches or structures on all these places in the Bible to mark the spot. So this is where Elijah went up in the chariot of fire. And I thought this was someplace really far away. I didn't know this was the exact spot. And it's literally right around the corner from the baptism site. I had no idea they're right next door to each other. Here's some artwork showing Elisha going up in the chariot of fire. His mantle fell off as he went up, a type of the rapture. And it fell down on Elisha. Elijah means my God is Yah. Elisha means my God is Shua. My God is salvation. My God is Yeshua. My God is Jesus. However you want to cut it. This is an image from the bus. This is what it looks like. So this spot here where the arch is where Elijah went up in the chariot of fire. It kind of looks like a launch pad, doesn't it? Pretty neat. And this is a borrowed image from the internet, because you can't go there anymore. This is what it looks like close up. And so this is the Madaba mosaic again. And on the right here by this fish, this is Bethabara, the house of passage. And then this image, this little house thing on the bottom that has these 12 stones sticking out of it. That kind of, if you just memorize what that, this is called Gilgal, what it says in the Greek there. But if you look at the image of the house with the stones coming out of it, just to memorize what that looks like. And when I show you the next image, it'll blow you away. Look at that. Does that not look like that with the 12 stones coming out of it? I think it does. Very neat. And these are the purported 12 stones that are on the side of Gilgal over by Jericho. So this is the second pile of 12 stones, standing stones, over on the other side. Okay, that concludes our tour of Bethabara. And I wanted to make one more note about Elijah's Hill. Okay, so why was it in such close proximity to where John had his ministry and where John was baptizing people, including where he baptized Jesus? The important thing is that John came in the spirit and power of Elijah, right? And so Elijah, God marked the spot because that's where Elijah went up to heaven in a chariot of fire. Do you see the connection? So his name, it's all tied together and also in the same place. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So keep that in mind also with the very close proximity of the two sites. I mean, right next. So the next place we're going to travel to, we left Bethabara and Elijah's Hill, and we did the long drive all the way down to past Basra, past Lot's Cave, and we went to Petra. And we spent the day and actually spent the night down in Wadi Rum. But Petra's here, and we're going to talk about that now. And now we've traveled down to Petra, and the first place we're going to stop is a place called Moses Spring. And our guide told us that in the Muslim tradition, this is where Moses struck the rock and water came out and gave water to the whole congregation of Israel. So I don't think that's the case. I'm going to share with you why I'm here at the end. But I'm going to show you the images of it. This is the spring, and it's cold, clear water, which is shocking because it was roasting outside, and you have this really cool, clear water, and we actually drank some. It's pretty neat. That's it. This is going to water the whole population of Israel that escapes the Antichrist. And in antiquity, like I said, this is the only water source for all of Petra, and they channeled this water all the way down there between the rocks. This is their only drinking source, and it will be the source again in the future. They just have to redo some things because all the channels were made of clay and they've broken down over the years. This is the rock supposedly that Moses struck and the water came out. I think that's not true at all because there's no physical evidence of water erosion on this rock. Okay, you can look at it, you can plainly see there millions of gallons of water did not flow out of this rock because it was enough water to feed and to give to drink for 2.5 million people plus all the animals for over a year. Yeah, right. Not seeing it. Okay, now we're going to enter Petra and do the tour. You'll notice a lot of flat structures, a lot of carving out of the rock. It was really quite incredible. No one really knows much about the city. And my whole goal was to go down here and see if this place can support 4 to 5 million people during the tribulation. Can it really happen? Is there enough place to house that many people? And my answer was yes. I'll show you. But it's a very mysterious place and beautiful. This is the cleft of the rock that's in the Bible. This is where Israel's going to hide. And God will supernaturally protect them, just like he did in the wilderness, just like he did leaving Egypt. What has happened in the past will happen again. He will give them water from the rock. He will feed them from heaven. And with the manna, it's all going to happen again. And you'll see these dwellings all over the place. If you see this this insignia. I don't know what this is. This emblem that's built in these structures. It looks like an upside down pyramid. You'll see that all through this city. So I don't know whether that was for sacrifices or whether it's just like their emblem. I don't know, but it was all over the place. And you'll see these little dwellings all over. This is just the very beginning. Look at that. Some plants. To get out of the sun for a minute. It was hot. we brought a whole backpack full of water. We drank it all, and I was still dangerously dehydrated. This is a dry riverbed. Certain times of the year, it does flood through here, which I found shocking. But this is what the rocks look like. You can see the whatever tools they used to cut made grooves in the rocks here. And the base of this is a pavement. They've done in modern times, but it didn't used to be like that. You can tell it was roughly done. And it's all downhill walking into this place, so it's all uphill going back. All right, here's a channel where the water used to be, how they ran it all the way downhill into the city. But a lot of these channels have been destroyed. They'll have to rework them for the future. Just beautiful. Look at that. There's a gamal. There's a camel. and this is the only evidence that I found of this being human construction in this whole site, where these hand and foot holds here on the right and on the left look like a ladder. That's the only thing that I saw, because the rest of it, you're like, wow, how did humans build this? Just the size and scale of it is just incredible. And this hard rocks. Look at that. Obviously, it has very Roman or Greek influence on it. And most of the city, I found out, is underground, and it's mostly unexplored. And you just can't go down there. Brown University is doing a excavation on the site, but it's ongoing. But you can see this grate here off to the right. This is an entrance to go to the underground city. And people were giving camel rides. And I was trying to peek down there to see what's underground. Look how big these pillars are, carved out of the rock. Look at the detail. Look at the detail on this. Isn't that amazing? It's just beautiful. Such a mysterious place. I mean, it's just perfectly flat. Like the ceiling was perfectly flat. How did they do that? And this is the only place I found that looks, the entire city we looked at all day long, and this is the only place I found where there's any modicum of look like human writing. And it kind of looked like Paleo Hebrew, but I really can't tell. But this is all I found, this area right here. That was it. The whole city, there wasn't a speck of writing anywhere. Very strange. And here you'll find places where they used to put their idols. So on the left here, you see this little indentation in the rock? That's where they put their idols. There's another place I'll have showing up here. I'll show you another one. Here's another place where they put their idols. Look at that. You see the upside down pyramid thing on the top? Getting out of the sun for a second. There's another, this image. I don't know what it is. Look at all the dwellings. These are all little houses. You can see they go all the way up the hill. Look, there's even one up there. Isn't that something? They're all over the place. Look, this is an amphitheater. I'll got another picture of it coming up here soon. It was so hot. I mean, look, they carved these rocks all the way up there. I don't know how they did that. It's amazing. How did they get up there to carve? Look at all the dwellings. Look at them all. My wife and I climbed up this hill, and we were rewarded with all these little houses. Look how flat this wall is. Like, how did they do this in antiquity, this stone wall, to carve it that flat? Amazing. Some of the doorways were really tall, like, 12, 15 feet high, and some of them were like normal sized doorways, so there was no consistency on it. I just thought this rock looked cool. Here's some more. Look at all these little dwellings. You can see them all over the place. And then they go off in the distance too. The whole area. Can it support millions of people? Absolutely. All the way as far as you can see. And like I said, most of the city is underground. Just incredible. Now, the people in antiquity built this city. They probably didn't know why they were building it, but God had a reason why they built it. Here's an ancient amphitheater. This thing, I mean, look how small the steps are. I mean, there's a lot of people you could put in here. I don't want to know what the entertainment was, but probably wasn't something good. Okay, so this is down an ancient road, and this was a temple of Zeus off to the left, and it just looked like a pile of rocks. And I'm glad I climbed the stairs and to see what was above it, above the ledge, and I saw the whole thing. Just wow. Now this temple came down during an earthquake. I don't know when it was, but it was a pretty major earthquake that knocked down this whole temple. Different pictures of all the remains. Look how big this thing is. That's after the earthquake. And there's another temple there. You can see the pillars all laying down here on the ground. That they just lined them up so they could study them. Look at the detail on these things. Isn't that something? Stonework. Yeah, I got to ride a donkey. There's that emblem again. This is inside one of the dwellings. Look like this is probably where they stored things, like grain or whatever. And they just put it in there and keep it cool. Look how flat the sides are. How did they do that? Who climbed up there to do that? Look at that. Look at this thing. How did they do that? The whole mountainside was like that. I have another picture here where it goes around the side of it. Look at that. All the way around the side of the mountain. And this place just goes on and on and on. It's not like there's a city center and then it's like there's the boundary of it. It just keeps going. You could easily fit 5 million people here comfortably. Okay, we left Petra and we were driving to the Dead Sea here. This is Eilat, Israel, and that we're looking at. We're still in Jordan right now, but across the way there is Eilat, Israel, and that's the Gulf of Aqaba right there. That's part of the Red Sea. And off, if we were able to go down there, because that's beyond there is Egypt, and if you can, in the Sinai, and if we could go far enough, you could see the actual Red Sea crossing site would be down to the left. So this is all we can see today. All right. that's it for this part. Okay, so next part doesn't have any prophecy or Bible events associated with at all. Just a fun part of our trip. So we left Petra and we went south into to a place called Wadi Rum, which there's a wadi right here. This is Wadi Mujib, which is the Wadi of Moab. Wadi is just a dry riverbed. Okay, and there's another one here, Wadi Musa, the Wadi of Moses. That's Musa. And this place here, Mount Hor, this is where Aaron died. So I'll talk to you about Wadi Rum here, and I'll show you lots of pictures. Okay, so this is Wadi Rum, and we went glamping in Wadi Rum. And these are the little cabins, and some of them were really neat. They had this one over here on the left is like a bubble tent, they call it. And then the one we had a retractable roof. It's pretty neat. It was so hot here, though. This is where they filmed. Dune was filmed out here. I think some of the Star Wars films were filmed out here, and various other ones. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but there's a lot of movies that are made here. It's so unique. And this is just a tent for hanging out. Here's the pool. And this rock just came up. I mean, it's like straight up, like right on the edge of the camp. Really neat. This is a picture of our camp off of our quote unquote tent. And this is the family style dining that we did. And they cook the food underground. They like dig a hole and they put the food in there, and they get the coals really hot, the wood. And then they put the food in, and then they cover it up, and it just sits there just smoldering from a lack of oxygen for like 5 hours. It's like a slow cook. And then they bury it with sand, and then they uncover it, and then you eat it, and it's so good. And they have these really elaborate fruit drinks. So my wife had this lime, whatever it is here, and then I had an orange juice. Really good. And we had a full moon that night, and it was really beautiful. It was so bright out. We did a stargazing tour. They had these 4 high-end, really high-end telescopes, and we got to look at a couple of the stars and the moon through these telescopes. It was really something riding around in the back of this truck, though, in the desert in the middle of the night. It was like riding on a boat. It was so strange, but it was beautiful. This is me standing in front of this rock. And the next image will give you scale. Look at that. It's huge. And I'm going to put 2 videos on here. When we left Wadi Rum and we're driving north, it's a 4-hour drive to the Dead Sea Resort where we went. Just showing you the beauty of the landscape there in Wadi Rum. It's very close to Saudi Arabia. It's about 80 miles, I think, from the Jabal Allah's, the real Mount Sinai. So it's close as we could get, because Saudi, they're not very nice to tourists. So in fact, whenever we saw, it was really funny, because whenever we saw an SUV on the road that had Saudi plates, they're driving like maniacs. Like it's so funny, because it's so drastically different from the Jordanian locals who drive very conservatively. But it was kind of funny. So here's the videos, and the voice speaking is our Jordanian tour guide.
Further, this one, I forget it, that they had a drive in the downtown by the car. Okay, and she said like...
And now we're traveling back north to past Mount Hor. We're going to the Dead Sea Resort. And on the way, we passed Mount Hor, which means progenitor. That's where Aaron died. And Aaron was Moses' brother. He was 3 years older. And at the top of this hill, we saw it from both sides. We saw it on the way down to Wadi, on the way down to Petra, and then on the way back on the other side of the mountains. We saw there's a church, another structure built to mark the spot, and it's really something at the top of this hill, because I don't think there's a road that goes up there. I think the only way you can get there is via donkey or camel. And so they actually built this church up there with his sepulcher. His body is probably still there. So I took these pictures from the internet because I did not go there, but we only saw it from a distance, but you can see what it looks like here. This is Mount Hor, where Aaron died. Remember, Aaron was one of the 2 witnesses that confronted Pharaoh Moses had the speech impediment, so Aaron was the one who did most of the talking. And that's probably where Aaron's body is today, till the resurrection. I thought that was pretty neat. Okay, so now we have left Wadi Rum and we're doing the 4-hour drive northbound, and we passed Mount Hor, and we continue driving, and we passed Lot's Cave. We go ahead to take a picture of it, and I'll include a picture of that in here. And then we're driving along the Wadi Moab, which is this dry riverbed, and there's one road here that goes all the way down to Petra. So it's one highway. Okay, so we're driving along here, and we come to this place here. It's literally just a trash heap on the side of the road, and our driver pointed it out to us, and I'm so glad we stopped and took pictures. But there's two of Herod's palaces here. One was on the Dead Sea, and the other one was in the mountains just east of there. And this is the place where John was beheaded, where he was imprisoned and then later beheaded. And then this is his other residence on the Dead Sea, because he had two health ailments. He had a bad knee, and then he had a bad back. And so I guess the salt from the Dead Sea, and then there was a natural spring nearby, so that those two things helped alleviate his pain. But I'm going to show you pictures of this one right here. All right, now we're driving north along that highway along the Dead Sea, and we're just looking west here. And these are the mountains on the other side in Israel. You can see it's like a sheer wall that goes. It's very steep incline. It's because we're 1,300 feet below sea level, and then it goes to 2,000 to 3,000 feet above sea level in rapid fashion. So these are salt piles here. And Jordan, they don't have any exports really. They have fertilizer, potash is what it's called, and that's really it, and tourism. And right now, tourism's really in the dumps because of all the wars nearby, all the people attacking Israel. So they're really hurt right now as a country. So let's just keep going here. It's a shame. They're very nice people. These are the salt flats. And then this is the entrance from the highway to Herod's palace on the Dead Sea. You notice there's no like government signs saying, keep out. There's no, this is a historical site, nothing. It's just an open, broken fence and trash on the ground. We went in, and look at this. Isn't that something? You got the Roman columns just laying all over the place. You can see the rooms. What a view he had. This is our tour guide telling us about the site. There's one column still standing. Look at that. And the rooms have obviously filled in over the years. This is 2,000 years ago. I can't believe that the government has not protected this site. It's just garbage laying on the ground. These are the same Roman columns that we saw in Petra, on Mount Nebo, and also down in the Sinai. Down in Saudi, reflecting at the time period. And these are pictures of Lot's Cave, which our Arabic tour guide called it Lut's Cave. But this is looking to the right, so this is the east along the highway here, and you can see a structure out there. And we didn't get to go this time, just time constraints, but I would love to go see this cave. This is purportedly where Lot hid during the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And as he came down, I think the last city he was recorded in the Bible to be in was Zoar, which is on the south end of the Dead Sea. And then he came east and then hid in this cave with his two daughters. And this is a picture of, as we're driving along the highway, this is one of the two sites that are purported to be Lot's wife, the pillar of salt, as she turned back to look. Jesus says that we're not supposed to, we're not supposed to even look back. He said, remember Lot's wife. So this is We don't know if it really is or not. Interesting enough, on the other side, on the Israeli side, they have a Lot's wife salt pillar as well. So is either one correct? We don't know. Nobody knows. But the Jordanians have one on this side as well. All right, so now we have driven past Lot's cave. We've driven past the Herod's palace on the Dead Sea, and we're going to a Dead Sea resort, which is right here. So we're going to go swimming. So I'll show you pictures of that. Here we are floating in the Dead Sea, no hands. All right, so here we are. We're floating in the Dead Sea. Here's Samara. And there, over on the other side, is Israel. And Jericho is right over there. Come back. And then the place where John baptized Jesus. See if you can see where it is. Sorry, I'm floating right now. It's right over there. And let's see what else. And then the place where Sodom and Gomorrah would be down at the far end. That's where that was. There was one other city of the 5 cities on the plain that got burned. It was up here. I can't remember which one it was exactly, but here's the landscape behind me. This is Jordan. This is the resort here. All right, so now we're at the Dead Sea Resort, and this is some pictures of the plants that were there at the hotel. It's beautiful. My wife has a green thumb, so she likes all the pictures. Okay, here's the sign. You're at the lowest point on Earth. Again, that's like 1,300 feet below sea level. I had no idea it was that far down. I thought it was a few hundred feet. But here it was. Notice there's no children playing on the beach. The water here is roughly 10 times saltier than seawater. So nothing can survive in this water. Nothing. There's nothing in the water. And yeah, don't have to worry about sharks for sure. There's no boats even. The metal propeller of the boat would corrode quickly. So there's nothing in the water at all. But it was really hot, and so it felt good to get in there. The water itself, the day we were here, was in the mid 80s. So it felt like a hot tub, plus all the saltiness. So it was kind of uncomfortable, but it was a box we wanted to check off, like to go swim in the Dead Sea. It was so buoyant. Because you couldn't even submerge even if you wanted to. You were so buoyant in this water. It was like laying with a life jacket on, except you don't. You're just floating, and very cool experience. Here's the pool. There's people watching. All right, this concludes part 1 of our study, and part 2 will be going over on the map the travel patterns of our Messiah and different people groups throughout history and also in the future. So I'll show that in part 2.